it's Tracy from Two Rocks Tarot with this week's tarot tips and tricks. And it would be really remiss of me not to include a video on the Celtic Cross. So the Celtic Cross was actually recommended by Arthur Edward Waite, who of course was part of the short-lived but influential Magic Order of the Golden Dawn, and so that is him there. That's what he looked like. I'm trying to get it straight. So he was the one that recommended using this particular spread for answering questions. Now, the Celtic Cross is a spread that you either love or you hate. I personally actually love it. I've developed my own Celtic Cross, which of course I will be putting up a picture so you can actually see where I'm coming from, and I can explain all the differences of how I've actually adapted this particular cross for my, to my own personal needs. So the original layout, so as you can see, I've got mine up there. So the original layout was card 1 was this covers him, card 2 this crosses him, card 3 crowns him, card 4 beneath him, card 5 this is behind him or her, of course. 6 is this is before him or her. 7 is yourself. 8 is the house. 9 is hopes and fears, and 10 what will come. So the house by meaning others and that's surrounding you, what's actually surrounding you. So this never ever worked for me, and I developed my own Celtic Cross through sort of the help with this particular book here, The Idiot's Guide to Tarot and Fortune Telling, which I'll touch on again in a minute. But how I've done it now in this particular diagram, because I couldn't find one without a significator in it. So the S stands for significator. So if you're a person who likes to pick a card to represent yourself or a client or whoever it is that's having a reading, that's where you put, that's the actual card that you download. You place down first, then card 1, 2, and etc. So for me, so I only will have 2 cards in the middle. So for me, you can see for 1 represents now, so what's actually happening now, what's the most important thing that's actually happening in my life. 2 is I use it as a for and against. So if it is a positive card, that means I'm not going to have much opposition to, relevant to the question that's asked. If it is a more of a negative card, for instance the Tower or something like that, it's not necessarily against, but it will show kind of the hiccups that may be happening relevant to the question that I've asked. Now for number 3, why you asked the question in the first place. Now this might sound really, really weird, but I got that actually out of the tarot and fortune telling, because sometimes when you ask a question of the tarot, it's not going to answer what you've actually asked, which is going to sound really, really weird, but sometimes the tarot wants to tell you something that you need to know. So when you have number 3 as why you ask the question, it comes up with really interesting cards for why you ask the question. It'll really hit the background of why you asked the question in the first place. So you might have asked about love, but in the back of your head you're thinking about your recent divorce, and this card will show up as the 3 of Swords, just for instance, right? Now, I don't really necessarily see that. Actually, I'm not going to use the 3. I'll have to use the 3 of Swords. Most people associate the 3 of Swords with heartache and so forth. For me, it's the 5 of Cups. But we'll take the 3 of Swords for this particular one. I look at the 3 of Swords as a new direction that's not known. So you've asked about love. You get the 3 of Swords of why you ask the question. So the first thing you're going to think, obviously, is probably, oh, God, I'm not, unconsciously, you're feeling that you're not worthy of having a new love. You are still pretty much focused, even though you don't think you are, at the back of your mind on your recent divorce and all the heartache that it caused. You are now going in a direction that's not known. You don't know if it's going to be a happy one or a sad one. So this is what the card's picking up on. It's actually picking up the background of the question that you asked. It sounds really funny, but until you do a few spreads using the Celtic Cross in this way, you'll discover for yourself that particular position of why you asked the question can be the most telling card in the whole spread. It truly, truly can. So while you're focused on the question, the tarot is going to ask why you really asked the question in the first place. So if you ask if you're, are you going to lose your job, and you get, say you get the Ten of Cups, no, the Ten of Pentacles, and you think, oh, no, I'm not. But it could really be focusing on what you really want from a job, and that is to be financially secure, not working for a family business, for instance. For those of you who have worked with family businesses, it can be quite a mind, you know what. So it's very, very interesting. So I always keep that as why you asked the question in the first place. It's amazing. Card 4 I keep as the past, the recent past. So even though it's the recent past, you can still feel its effects. So a lot of people get confused with 4. They just think, oh, the past, it's just reflecting on what's gone in the past. Not necessarily. It actually can, it's still affecting what's going on now, but they put it in the past because it happened, it might have happened only a week ago or a month ago or something like that. 5, I've changed to your strengths, because I'd always found 5 as an iffy position for myself. There was lots of different things that I've seen associated for number 5, and they never really resonated with me. But with having one card to focus on your strengths really, really helps. It really, really does. So that will point to your client's strengths. So even if it's a really crappy reading, you know, you're looking at it and think, oh my God, they're going through so much shit. If you concentrate on that card, you have a card to pull their strengths, it really, really helps them. Truly it does. So card 6 is the future. Card 7 is another one which is really great, is what you're afraid of. This will highlight what you're afraid of. This one with with position 3 is really, really good, because it'll bring forth from your, you know, from your subconscious what you are actually afraid of, relevant to the question you ask. 8 I still keep as others and how they affect you. Sometimes if like I don't work and I don't see many, you know, I don't really see many people, so others is not really, I wouldn't be thinking of other people. So for me, I'd be thinking about the energy that's surrounding me, relevant to the question that's asked, unless I'm specifically asking about a person. But for others, for me, generally means the energy that's surrounding me. So you can use others, or you can use the energy that's surrounding you for this one. Number 9, instead of hopes and fears, the next step to take. So, you know, what you can actively do to get to the outcome, which is number 10. You know, what can you do to get to the outcome that you like? It's the final step to take. It's the final leap of faith so you can get to the right outcome. So that's, when I lay out a Celtic cross, that's the positions that I use. I find it really, really good instead of the old. And I think that's what happens, because I mean, you've got to think, what was he around in the 1800s, early 1900s or something like that? It's very old-fashioned, the meanings. They don't really suit modern day readers, you know, and I think that's where the sort of the dislike comes from. It doesn't really pinpoint, but it's a beautiful spread. It really does flow very, very nicely when you change the positions to suit yourself, as I have done. So, you know, give this one a go, see how you go. Now there's also, you'll notice there's a red line that's going straight across, and this is, when you're doing a reading, this is a private, they call it, I've got this from it's called Dusty White's Advanced Tarot Secrets. He really picks apart the Celtic Cross. Now, I have done it his way, but sometimes it's just too much. I don't believe that you need to have as much information, but this is a pretty good one. So if you read cards 3 and 7, so 3 plus 7, is our private thoughts and feelings. So 3 and 7 is, so that's the red line is the psychological line. So anything from down like below is our private thoughts. And then 5 and 9, which is above, is our public thoughts and feelings. So these are feelings that we tend to promote and freely tell other people. So if you are trying to find out, so if you're asking maybe about a love interest, doing it that way, having that, you know, what they're happy to tell you, but what they might not, what they might actually be hiding, look for, you know, look down below there in these couple of cards. So even though it's got why you ask the question, what you're afraid of, if you're asking it in like as a love interest, you can sort of rephrase them as, well, you can't really rephrase them, but you can keep that in mind, that this might be what they're not actually telling you. Even though these positions have changed, you can have that actual, you know, the private thoughts. And this could actually pinpoint your private thoughts, of course, to what you're not telling yourself, what you're trying to hide from yourself, and what you're freely, the 5 and 9, what you're freely telling other people might not marry with what you're keeping privately. So I thought that was quite an interesting. I mean, he's picked apart this cross. There's about, oh my God, this, as you can see, he goes through each and every one of the cards, and he gives you an alternative way of looking at it. So it's really, really good, but I don't use it. I just keep it simple. I like to keep things very, very simple. But so this is really good to have this, you know, what you're actually hiding from yourself. And of course, why you ask the question and what you're afraid of, this falls in rather well with what you're hiding and what you're freely telling the public, your friends or whatever, and all that sort of thing. But also, I wanted to point it out when you read this particular cross. Excluding the number 8, if you're looking across from 4 to 6, that is a good way of reading. So you're reading what's happened in the very recent past, or still could be happening, what's happening right now, which way it's going to go is kind of an inkling. And then you've got the future as well. Now, I have to say, with number 6, with the future, for me anyway, it always happens. I think this is another reason why the Celtic Cross is not liked very much, because it's a very predictive type of a spread. And usually what you see in card 6 will happen regardless, okay? Regardless, it'll happen. So that's another thing as well. So also too, when you read the Celtic Cross, if you just look at cards 3, 4, 5 and 6, that is another way to actually to see what is kind of surrounding you as well. So you can still look at the particular type of energies. So if they were all cups, for instance, they could be, it's a very emotional. And by emotional, even though you've got your strengths, for emotional strength is like, say you get the 10 of cups, is that you always seem to look at the bright side, no matter if all the other cards are quite gloomy. So take a look at what's actually surrounding the first 2 cards in the middle. They will tell you a lot, believe you me. I've got a lot of things on the Celtic Cross, because when I first started reading, I thought that's what you had to do. You had to do a Celtic Cross. Of course, that's not true now. But when you first start to learn to read the tarot, there's so many conflicting things out there. But basically, that's it in a nutshell. So, it's always good to look at the outside from 3 through to 6 to see what's surrounding the 2 middle cards, or the 3 if you like to use a significator. And then I'm going to touch on timing with the tarot as well. Now, there is in this book, there is a brilliant, it's called the Double Celtic Cross. So basically what that means is that you have 20 cards instead of the 10. So you'd have another one, another card next to each and every one of these particular cards here. So you get double the information. And card 6 and card 10 is where the timing lies in it. So I've got this bookmarked here, because whenever I want to find something out about timing, I always do a double Celtic Cross. It's not very, very often that I do a Celtic Cross, but the timing this is how I use it. So, and I think I've gone a little bit too far. That's right. So the 6th and 10th position of any Celtic spread can give a sense of timing and its actual possible direction. And I even though I'm in this, I'm in Australia, I actually use these correspondences because they actually work for me. So for an actual direction, we've got Wands as south, Cups as west, Swords as north, and Pentacles as east. So actually, it's too confusing. You'd have to actually read the book, but that's the positions that you look at is 6 and 10 to get an idea of the timing. Any major card you disregard, so you just actually use the minor arcana cards, I should say. So and these are the correspondences that I read. That works for me. So the Ace through 10, the timing is 1 to 10 days, depending, or weeks or months, depending on the card. The pages are 11 days, weeks or months. The Knight is 12 days, weeks or months, and the Queen and King is unknown time because it's up to you. So the period of time for Cups is days, for Wands is weeks, for Pentacles is months, and Swords, again, it's undetermined. It's up to you because you're working it out in your mind. So they're the correspondences that I actually use. So if you're looking at perhaps when you may get a, I don't know, like say you're looking for a promotion. So look at 6 because that's as the future, and 10 is the outcome. And it'll give you an idea of the timing. Now, I've always done it with a double Celtic because it's easier, because then you've got 4. You've got 2 in the 6th position and you've got 2 in the 10 position. Because if you're getting a major arcana card in 6 and you haven't pulled another card, well, then you're going to think that, you know, you're not really going to get anywhere. You're not going to get a sense of timing. But however, if you pull the 2 for each, you know, you will get it. So you can still do it with a single Celtic cross, but it's much, much easier doing it with a double Celtic, just if you really are trying to work out on the timings. So I find all the correspondences for this particular book, even though I live in Australia, I've always used them. It's always worked, and it's absolutely brilliant. It's absolutely brilliant for doing timing, and it's the only spread that I use when I want to predict timing. Of course, now that I've gotten, you know, I'm older and I've gotten better. Well, hopefully I have, you know, because this is when I first started to read the tarot, you know, well over 20 years ago now. But I still, if I really want to get a specific timing of an idea of a specific time, that's the spread that I'll use all these years later. I still like that one. So of course, with Lenormand it's different again, but you know, it all depends on what method that you're using and what you're reading. So the Celtic Cross is an absolutely fantastic spread. The double Celtic spread again is awesome as well, because you're getting double the info. But of course, if you're new, that might be, you know, information overload, trying to, you know, figure out what you're doing. But if you just try the normal 10 cards, and don't be afraid to change the position meanings. So these position meanings work better for me, but you might like the traditional meanings. You might like to have a completely different set. It's okay. Whatever works for you is the right way. There's, like I keep saying, there's no right or wrong way to learn the tarot. But, you know, don't get put off by people telling you that the Celtic Cross is crap. It can actually be a really, really, well, it actually is. I'm going to say it. It's a good spread to use. It truly, truly is. Because it does work out nicely in a circle. Because it's almost like a spiral. It starts in the middle, it goes around, and then it comes, well, actually, then it goes back up on the staff. So it's a great spread. You can learn a lot from it, and I think it's I think when you start to delve into spreads, try that one. I mean, everyone says, you know, start off with the 1 card, the 3 card. If you're impatient like me, you probably just want to get right into the nitty gritty. And I think sometimes that's the best way to learn, is to just dive right into it. So try a Celtic Cross and see how you go. Write it all down. And also with the Celtic Cross, some things won't happen for quite a while. You know, like, so you might have done this reading at the beginning, say the beginning of May, you might have done a reading. Things might not come to pass till June, July, you know, sometimes. If you've decided to do a timing reading, well, then, you know, you're going to have more of an idea. But I find that when I use the Celtic Cross, it really does marry the past and the future and what may happen rather well. So don't disregard it. I think it's a really good spread. And also another tip as well, which I haven't really seen in any tarot book, but I got this mainly because I, you know, read Lenormand first before I went into tarot, and I have delved into the Kipper, is look at the direction that any people cards are facing, or any animals, anything that's got a face. Well, actually, just the whole damn card, really. Look at what direction it's pointing into. I mean, does the future card, is the face looking towards the past? Well, this could indicate that even though this person, depending on the question asked, that is still too focused on what's happening in the past to enjoy the future where they are at now. Do you know what I mean? So take a very close look to just what each card is looking at, because that gives you a really, really good idea and more of a it's just a really good tip. I just found that when I started to look at the directions of the tarot, like I do with Lenormand and Kipper cards, it opened it up the tarot world even more. So pay particular attention, because you might even have one that's got a like, I don't know, the Magician, you know how it's often got the finger pointing down. Well, that might be pointing down to an item in a particular card right below it. So say it is I don't know, just say it's the left sword in the Three of Swords. You know how you always got the three, just say it's the left one. So that might be telling you that there's some the left path, while unknown, might be a good one for you to try right now. It could point to the rainbow in the Ten of Cups in the Light Seers Tarot, for instance. The rainbow might be a message for you. So look at what other cards are pointing to, looking at, sitting upon. You know, you might find, if you're looking at, you know, that line before, where things that you keep private, if you've got a lot of heavy, dark cards on the top, well, this is literally stifling any good thoughts that may come, even though publicly you're coming across as very happy and everything like that, but privately you're in a really deep, dark depression, and it's really weighing you down, but you're keeping that private. You're not actually talking about it. Do you understand what I'm saying? So it's a brilliant thing, the Celtic Cross, but make it work for you. Don't try to fit in to the way it was originally written or how anyone else may do it. Take a good look at the position meanings and make that cross work for you, not the other way around. If you're finding it hard, you know, you might need to put it away for a few months or so until you get better at reading the tarot. But just make it work for you, and really pay attention to the directions and all sorts of things like that. It's a really good spread. I can't say it enough. I've probably said that too many times now, but I really enjoy using it. It's not often that I use it now, because the way I read is completely different. You know, I just shuffle and I just lay out cards until I know I've got enough. But if I do have a specific question, if it's something important, that's my go-to spread. I will go to that one. So give it a go. Let me know in the comments below if you've actually tried my position meanings and found it better. If you've actually rearranged them and changed it to suit you, because sometimes card 4 is where card 6 is in my diagram, you know. But I'm not, maths isn't my forte, and I like to just have 1, 2, 3. I just like to have it very easy. And it's the same when there's, you know, spreads where you've got 5 here, 1 here, and 6 there. I never do it like that. I just lay them out, you know, how many corresponding. So if there's six in the spread, I'll just lay it out like that. I'll never lay it out when it's complicated like that, because to me it's too confusing, because you're going here, there, and everywhere. I just like it, you know, straight out. So if you found a good spread, and you know, but you've got, like I said, you know, 6 up here, 1 there, and 8 or 10 up there, and you find it confusing, just lay out the corresponding cards in a straight line. It doesn't matter, as long as you're getting the understanding the reading that you've done for yourself. It's fine. So I'll leave it at that, and I'll probably share another spread in the following week that is actually a Lenormand spread and a Kipper one, but works really well with the tarot. So until next time, take care, everybody. Please press like and subscribe and the notification bell. Any questions, don't hesitate to ask, and let me know if you've changed this particular wonderful spread into something that suits you.